Welcome to episode 25 of the Dance to Oneness podcast. My name is Amy Shine. I'm your host. And this week we have a very special friend of mine, Becky Vannes, here joining us in the studio online. So Becky is an access consciousness facilitator. She's also a marketing expertise guru. I'm not really sure what title to give you with your marketing expertise. But Becky's done, and she's also used to be a former bodybuilder, bikini model. Is that how I call it? Bikini body model.
I was a figure. There was a difference. I was a figure competitor, but yeah.
You were a figure competitor. So Becky has lots of areas of expertise. She loves talking business, money, bodies. And today we picked the topic body morphing. So welcome, Becky.
Hi, Amy.
Why did we pick this topic, body morphing?
That's a great question. Probably because we were having one of our many amazing conversations about kind of like what's up, right? Like either, and not just for us, like in our life, like I've had a few people like reach out to me like about, oh my gosh, like what is my body doing? Yeah. And so it's such a cool topic. And like, yeah, like what is body morphing? That's a big word.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, for me, I think it's where when I'm around other people's bodies, I can morph into what they are. So if I'm around people who judge their bodies a lot, then I can like almost like become their judgments.
Yeah.
Like my body can mimic their judgments. So my body starts looking like their judgments.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in another example, have you ever been like, especially now, after this pandemic, like coughing is like not acceptable. And then you're next to someone that's coughing, then all of a sudden, like you have to cough, right? Like our bodies are just so aware and like so, so potent. And I've just recognized that even lately, my body has really been doing this where I'm around certain people and then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have a stomach ache. And they're like, my stomach's been hurting me all day or, different things. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm aware of. And and so these are a couple of things that we were looking at when we were having this cool conversation is this is really where you'll kind of mimic other people as kind of like a disability where, like these obviously, when you have to cough or if you have a backache when, or, you have a stomach ache, is that you really using your capacity to your advantage.
Right? Yeah. I also like, thanks for saying that. Yeah. How much like to be able to be around other bodies and then become what those bodies have going on is a capacity. Now, how can you use that capacity to create something greater instead of using it against you?
Yeah.
So I think how I was looking at it too, and me and you both were looking at this, Becky, how when you're around a group of people and you start to mimic their bodies rather than have your own reality with your body. And I think this is why you and me actually love movement so much. Like you love working out and I love doing all different types of movement because for me, when I move my body, movement shows me my reality with my body. It puts me back into my reality, into how, and I know too with movement, how fast my body can morph and change when I move.
Yeah.
And how fast my body can change when I don't move.
Yeah. And the presence, though, that you become again with your body. Right? Like really, one thing that I'd love to say that about you is like the movement. Me and Amy have talked about this before. My whole life, I'm actually really quite athletic and I can dance. But I was never really good at picking up like line dancing where there's steps because as I got older, I really figured out I'm totally dyslexic. So my brain will like process things and then jumble it. So to have to do like these steps, I'm on 3, then go into 1 and then 4. And so I always looked at like, wow, I'm not great at dancing. And then when I really started playing with Amy and the movement of like, what if there's no right or wrong movement? And what does your body know about the movement it requires if I don't have to like process other people's information on like the steps that we have to be in sync to do? And that was such a fun thing. Me and you did a side-by-side dance at one time.
Oh, yeah. That was really funny. Yeah.
It was really hilarious. Trying to then be in sync with each other's movements and bodies. And it was so much fun and so hilarious. And I always look at it as a disability, but like how much of the ability of like being present with your body and the movement that your body's aware of and would like to create. And, I'm talking about dancing right now, but we can actually put that everywhere. Like when I did my figure competition, I really focused on a look that was required, to win that competition. And so I would read magazines, I would watch videos, I would look at that person's shape and their body, and I would ask to mimic it. And, the cool thing is, because that's what we're kind of talking about, morphing or mimicking. And I've even heard people talk about that with finances. Like, if you want to be a billionaire, like, do you know any billionaires? And like, what, can you do to like mimic like the energy that they be, with the money? And so there's so many cool places that this topic that you can, take.
Yeah, because you actually, in that way, the way you're showing us right now, it's like, this is a capacity and this is how you can use it to create something greater for you. Or you can use it against you by, taking on everyone's judgments, locking them into your body and becoming those judgments. Because you and me both have seen how we can do either one of those. Like we spoke recently, like, if you're around a large number of people and a lot of them judge their bodies, or they don't like their bodies, or they're not enjoying their bodies. If I'm around at that group of people like that for long enough, I'll start to feel shit in my body, and I'll start to feel like bloated, or like you said, yeah, your stomach's bloated. I don't feel very good. I don't feel very energetic. But is that really mine? And
right.
That's that place where you take that capacity to morph, but you're morphing something you don't want to morph.
Yeah.
You're morphing something that's not really fun and light and ease.
Yeah.
For what reason would you not morph?
Yeah, you can do that if that works for you.
You can, but a lot of it's unconscious. Like you don't even realize you're doing it until you've done it.
Yeah, until you're like, what the heck is going on here? And that's exactly, we had a conversation. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on with my body? And Amy took a picture of me and she's like, that doesn't even look like you. And I looked at them like, that's not me. Like,
it really wasn't. Like, I was like, Becky, that's actually not you. That's not your body. That's not how you look. So whatever your take, like whatever points of views that you're like holding on to or whatever, like they're like, it's not you, like,
Yeah.
And that's so cool. Cause that's actually happened to me too with photos as well. Like I remember, when I first found the tools of access, I went home for a weekend to art. Like I was living in Ireland at the time, and I just went to my parents' house. My sister had a birthday party, and I remember, we had photos, and I looked at the photos afterwards, and I was like so blown out, like I was bloated, like everything was blown out, and I was like, what? Like what happened? Like what? Like that's actually not how I look, but. It's interesting because there's so many, like with that, I could have said, well, either like so many different possibilities. Sometimes we put an armor on, we have defenses, we have walls, we put like, okay, now I'm going to put my armor suit on because maybe I'm going in somewhere where I feel like I need to be defensive. At the start, years ago, I was very defensive around my family. I think at that time I probably was defensive too, because I just started doing access and they knew I was doing it and it was this weird thing. So I was like armor on, but it's also really cool because when you acknowledge it, you're like, wow, that's really cool. I look like that one day and the next day I look totally different.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I think too, like the coolest thing is like one to recognize something, acknowledge it, without judgment. You know, when you go into judgment, then that's where we'll start locking things into place, because judgment actually isn't real. Judgment comes from a place of like, is this right or that's wrong? And like I just had this conversation with my son, which is the coolest thing. He just like lost 40 pounds because one day he's like, hey, I'm going to change this. So what if, you know, you were able to use it to your advantage and like, hey, great choice. You know, I had my awareness, right, of my body's aware, and it morphed into, you know, something maybe that I was aware of and didn't acknowledge, or choosing at the time that I wasn't aware of. But now you get to actually choose again. And your body, like these amazing humanoid bodies, actually can miraculously change instantly.
And that's that piece, like that, like I like that, what you love that about your son, like he's like, hey, this doesn't work, what's going to take, I'm going to change this, like that demand he had, like, and you know, that's, you had said to me too, like, Amy, this doesn't work for me, like taking on all the stuff that isn't mine. And then, you know, like you've had enough experience with your body to know like you can change it instantly, you know, also what it takes to change it. Like you go move your body. And that's why I think movement for me anyway, is so a massive part of having the joy of body for me. Is movement has to be involved in my life. And not from need, but from like that movement of energy, like, you know, like everything is a movement of energy. And when it's stagnant, like you're holding on to something or you're stuck in something, like bringing in those new energies, that movement of energy, allowing that fluidity and that movement through your body. And that's why we love the bars and the body process as well, because it is this movement of energy. And then when you move your body as well on top of all that, like things can change so quickly. And like I've gone to you know, a weights class, and like in one class saw my body transform before my eyes. So it's like, it doesn't have to be, like you said, like take really long. It can be just like, I'm changing this, what's it going to take and what's required to change it.
Yeah. And like, what's next? Universe, show me, like, what's next? And your body will show you, like, you know, your body, our bodies love to move. Now, like what that movement for you, I'm not sure what that is. Like, I love spin class and I love like sweating, you know, not everybody loves that, you know. That's why I love living in Florida. Like, I just love like to sweat and just, you know, like run and play. And, you know, I would start with just asking too, like what your body loves to do, and show me, like, what is that for me? You know, there's so many fun, different things that you can do. And like some people just like to walk, and that totally changes. It's just that movement of, you know, taking action.
Yeah. And I love that, taking action. But and also the thing here is like, if you're judging that, it won't actually change. So like when you find yourself in those places where you look in the mirror and your body is it's not you, like, you know, those times like where you look in the mirror and you're like, what's happening? What's going on? Like, whose body is this? You know, and that's a great question to ask. Whose body is this? Is this even my body right now?
Yeah.
Or am I mimicking someone else's body? And then it's like, okay, if you don't judge that, like you had said, like it's a capacity, but if you judge it, you can't change it. You stick yourself with it.
Yeah.
And what most people do is they go into the judgment. Oh, I've eaten the wrong food. I'm not doing the right exercise. Oh, I need to quit eating carbs. And it's really very rarely has it anything got to do with the food. I would say,
yeah, it's your judgment of the thing. And, you know, there's like, it just, even for me, like a few things that I recognized is that I like also would use my body kind of as a scapegoat. When things turn up in my life, or, you know, like I'm looking at not showing up for something, and when it's time to like level up, like turn it up, like I have these asks, I have these things I'd like to create. And then my body sometimes is like, I'll use it as a scapegoat. Like, well, I'm not feeling so pretty today, or like da da da, you know. And when I recognize that I'm morphing and like utilizing my body, like, and I say as a scapegoat because it's kind of like I'm trying to like find a reason to like hold myself back, right? Like how much of us will like, well, like, are you ready to be on TV today, right? Like if you had an opportunity and someone's like, hey, I want to interview you on like channel 11, like are you like, hell yeah? Or are you always, well, maybe let me lose a few pounds and then I'll be ready, or like all these different things. And so for me, when I recognize that I'm like not like being all of me because of what I look like or the shape of me, and then I'm like, oh no, we're changing this. Like we're changing, like that doesn't work for me. Like I am all in. I'm all in, and there are a few things too I'd also like to acknowledge is I do notice like your bodies do have ebbs and flows, like you gain weight, you lose weight, like there are those things, and also to recognize those and have ease with them, right? Like I'm sure with money and creation, like making lots of money, and then you're kind of like, oh, like you don't, just like retailers have the same, like Christmas is when they make tons of money, and then, they'll go through the whole year. And I also recognize that our bodies will do that as well.
Well, Becky, like our bodies come from the earth. And when we leave our bodies will go back to the earth. And the earth has ebbs and flows. The earth has seasons.
Yeah.
The earth changes seasons. Yeah. So it's like, for what reason would we not have allowance for our bodies having ebbs and flows when we have allowance for the earth and it changes in seasons?
Yeah.
And months where, there's hibernation months, and there is, some, like there's all these different changes. And actually that's one of the things I was looking at too. I was wondering if we could maybe look at it for a second too, of like what about when you go different countries or you go to different places, you go to different cities, and what your body is aware of when you go to different places, and what your body can also like morph and become the points of views of the place that you're at. Or the city. Like I'll always remember when I went to, I was doing Access a couple of months, and I went to 2 and 3 back then. It was 2 and 3 with Dane, and it was in Sweden, and it was my first time being out of Ireland after finding Access. And with the tools of Access, you do become a lot more aware of people's points of views. And I went to Sweden, and I was like, why do I feel like I want to eat salad and fruit all the time? Like I suddenly just like, all I can eat is salad and fruit, like, and then I started looking around. I'm like, this is really weird. Like everyone was so controlled, like everyone like was like really pretty and tall and blonde, but very controlled. So everything I felt like I just wanted like burst, like I wanted to just like burst out and scream in the middle of the street because everything was very compressed. But what I was seeing was, wow, like, Amy, you're so psychic. You just go to a different place and you hear what's acceptable and not acceptable. Like it's acceptable to eat salad. It's acceptable to eat salads.
Yeah.
Salads and fruit, and it's like, and it was like, that's all my body wants right now. But it's like, how much of that is like, you start to morph the points of views.
Well, it's totally. Yeah. And then there's a thing also of like, one of them, like with the Access tools, because I'm not sure how many people would be listening to this if you've never heard of like what we're even talking about with Access consciousness. Like the motto is to empower you, and one of like the beginner favorite tools is the spine. And when you start playing with that more and more, like if you go around always worried that your body's going to be aware and morph to something that's, not like what you're, looking at or required, I think the first step too is just to recognize, what is yours? Like, what do you know? And then once you get that sense, really not at the effect.
Oh, Becky, you just... Oh, Becky, you froze.
Oh, did I froze? Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I missed the last thing you said. You're not at the effect of.
Yeah, you're not at the effect then of anybody, right? Like you could actually, become like the broadcaster of a different possibility than the person that's always at the effect of everyone and everything. And, like, so for me, I'm always really looking at, like, to, know what I know about my body. Like, what do I uniquely know? And, what is being me with my body? And, really, how can we have ease with that and fun? Because, like, I'm all about fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not having fun, if you're not comfortable, or if you're like crunchy, you're not like one of my questions is like, wow, am I in my body and am I being me?
I love that. Yeah. Am I being me is a big one. Are you being you with your body? Are you trying to be someone else with your body?
Yeah.
And that's that thing. Like, are you trying to morph into, what's acceptable of where, like, so say you go to, I don't know, you go to California and then, you become like the points of views in California, which is everyone should eat vegan or something, but then you go to the Midwest and it's like, it's funny, talk about body morphing. Like I was in Michigan recently for a 3-day body class. And before, when I was packing to go there, I found myself looking for like non-vibrant clothes to pack. Like I found myself looking for clothes that would kind of like, I kept wanting a black dress. I'm like, I need to get a black dress. I'm going to Michigan. I need to get a black dress. Like, and then I was like, I have all these like more Florida dresses. I was like, I can't bring them with me. So this is interesting, the points of views, like you'll tap into the points of views of somewhere before you go, like what's acceptable to wear, what's not acceptable, what's okay to eat, what's not okay to eat.
Yeah.
And you'll start morphing your body into that to fit in, to be normal, to be the same as everyone else, to not be as different as actually you are.
Yeah.
It's really being you.
Well, and it's also a cool capacity to have, because when you go to different places that have different cultures, like China, Dubai, they actually have different views on, women and body and skin. And, I personally think that when you go somewhere, like you be you, but yet also respect.
Be aware. Be aware.
Be aware of other people's things and be respectful of their culture. And so like how, like I'm curious too, is like how much can we use that information always to our advantage?
Yeah. 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 You can still be you and be aware and be, conscious of where you're going and also know it's not yours.
Yeah.
And know that you don't have to become the points of views of the people and the bodies that are there. You can still have your reality while looking like you fit in.
Yeah. Like looking like you fit in. Yeah. Yeah. Because, like I actually truly enjoy my body. And, we've had many conversations about this and, even like with sex and sexualness. And I've always had such an ease with being that and being too much. And when I find myself turning that down to make other people comfortable, and then I was like, oh, all right, like I actually don't have a problem here, but whenever we have all this information, like there are times and places where, you can always use that to your advantage.
Well, we also talked about like all the different like looks you can have, like you and me talked about like some days I want to dress like a little bit slutty and some days I want to dress more like business-like and some days I want to wear flowery dresses, and it's like I can be the like that, younger girl look, or I can be like that more professional business look, or I can be whatever is fun for me in that day. Like what if you weren't defined by like, what you wore, what you eat, or even what movement you did. Like people say, oh, you dance. I'm like, yeah, but I do other stuff too. Like you don't just go to the gym, you do lots of different types of movement. It's like, what if you didn't have to define who you are in the world by your body, by how your body looks even. Because another thing too, people would go, oh, you're, oh, you're small and petite and you're tall in this. And so you can only wear those clothes and you can only wear those clothes, like,
yeah.
What if you could be it all? Like,
yeah, like what if you could be it all? What if you could have it all? Yeah. And I've, for most of my life, been able to do that. And when I was younger, I actually was judged as that was more of like being fake or, you know, the different things like that. And then as I got older, I recognized that it was actually a capacity. And the capacity is to be able to be comfortable on being anything and any energy at any time and any place. And knowing that I would never be that for long, like I wasn't stuck in that, because then I could choose something different. Like I was able to go, you know, I'm an outdoor TV show. I was able to go out and do that and be in hiking boots and dirty, hang out with the guys, and then, you know, put a suit on, and then I would fly to corporate, and then I would be that there. And like I didn't define myself as any one thing. And then I was able to actually have it all and have it all contribute to me.
I love that. And I love that visual too. You're like dirty outdoor program, boys, men everywhere. And then, oh, I'm now a business lady working corporate. Like
Yeah.
that's fun, you know, you get to play with all the different, and I love how you said, like, you know, growing up, you were called, what were you called? Fake for, because they didn't define you and there was no box you fit into.
I was like, I got along with all the groups. Like I never really was just like in one group. Like I actually, you know, was able, like I don't know, I just like I was able to perceive like what they did, like and I didn't have a judgment about it. And you know, like there's like the mean girls, the pretty popular girls, like the sporty people, you know, like the stoners, I don't know, you know what I mean? And like I actually had friends everywhere. Well, one, because I didn't really have a point of view about what they were doing. And then like I got to play everywhere and have fun, but a lot of people didn't get that. So it was not easy growing up, because then it was like you're being fake because you're not, you act like you're, you know, like this with us, and then you go do that, which is like a complete opposite.
Yeah. You're not fitting in. Yeah. You're not definable. They can't define you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So like, I mean, if you like, as a, like kind of like just wrapping the show up, like a takeaway for people, like to start kind of having more ease with their body and this whole body morphing. I mean, I think my favorite piece that you shared today was like the piece around like, you can like morph like the shitty stuff, the judgments, like the like feeling shit that people do about their bodies, or you can morph like, hey, what body would I like to look like? Like, what shape would I like to be? You can morph, you know, what would it be like to be like that billionaire over there? You know, what would it be like if we created billions, and start morphing the energies that are more like fun energies?
Yeah, well, and like whatever you get at the time. And like I really started, it was in the Being You Changing the World book. I was doing a book club and I read this one statement, and don't quote me, but it was really like, hey, body, like what's the gift of me today? And I was like, oh, I'm going to start using that. So every day I'd wake up and be like, well, what's, you know, the gift of you today, body? Like, what gift are you, body? And like those questions started opening up randomly. These weird things would start popping up for me. And I was like, wow, that is really cool. Like, I don't get mosquito bites. Like one day I was showering after I kept asking that, and out of nowhere, I was like, well, I don't get mosquito bites. And I was like, yeah, like that's what a cool creation. Great job. And so, you know, like just starting to get aware of your body and what's really the gift of you, like whatever that is. Like you might look at other people and see their gifts, but you're like, I have no idea what mine are. But when you start asking, you know, your body, like, what's the gift of you? And then, you know, like, I don't have to shave my legs. Like, I don't have hair that grows on my legs. That was like, great creation, body. Like that started popping. And so I just started really looking at and acknowledging what is actually cool about my body. And, you know, like, who knows what that'll look like for you? Because, you know, you have a unique body and you have things that I am not aware of. But, you know, I think that really just starting to ask, like, what is the gift of you today, body? What gift are you to me? And really start to, like, you might get information, you might not. But, like, when you're willing to start recognizing, like, what's right about you and what's the gifts, you actually start getting more of that to show up.
More of your capacities. I love that. Yeah. Thank you, Becky. Thanks for joining us today. Do you have any classes coming up you want to let our listeners know about?
That's a great question. I actually do on Friday have creating income revenue streams, a free Zoom.
Oh, a free Zoom about creating income streams. How generous of you.
Yeah. That's another capacity. Like when you're willing to like tap into the future of like what's required. I've been randomly like creating all these different, like every day, like what new income revenue streams can I create today? Like what else? What do I know? What else can I have? And I've created some fun ones, and I had a lot of people ask me, and some of them were with like Kindle and Amazon, creating journals and books to go with classes and different fun things. And so I'm going to do a free Zoom and show you how to do it.
Brilliant. Will you, maybe we'll post the link. We'll find the link, or you can send me the link and I'll post it in here in the comment section so people can find it later.
Yes.
And reach out. If you need to contact Becky, she's on Facebook, Becky Vannes. And it's www.beckyvannes.com, right?
Yes. That's I'm also a realtor. Like, see, I have several businesses, so that's my real estate page. But to find out more about like what I was just talking about and some of the tools, it's www.becky-vannes.com.
Okay, brilliant. All right, I'll post that in here too. Well, thanks for joining me, Becky.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll be back on again another time.
Yeah. So fun. Bye.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.